Alright, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Scrub here, back again with another video. Hope you guys are having a great day. I know I am. And today I wanted to talk about an article I saw on CNBC that is probably not the best news for the overall economy, but at the same time has to happen just because things were getting mad out of control. It looks like housing sales have seriously dropped, at least in the month of May, and it's predicted to drop even more. So it looks like after stock market and crypto, real estate markets might be in trouble. That being said, I don't know if it's the worst thing in the world, because like the average person can't afford a house at all anymore, but either way, let's talk about it. Sales of existing homes fell in May and more declines are expected. I don't think this is going to come out and fix everything in like 2 weeks. I don't necessarily think that housing prices are going to drop 50%, but I think even a decline in how fast they're going up is going to be good for the overall market long term. I think like the last 2 years, housing prices have risen, 20% year over year on average, somewhere in that ballpark. And if you think about it, that means the price of houses are going to double every 5 years. I just don't think that's sustainable, especially at current prices. If the average price of a house now is like 400 grand, in 5 years the average house is 800 grand, the average person would be so priced out of being able to afford a house, and it's just unsustainable. Eventually the sales had to slow down, and you look at this in tandem with just the stock market slowing down, crypto going down, it should be no surprise that most other markets are also going to start slowing down a bit. Sales of existing homes in May dropped 3.4% to a seasonally adjusted annualized rate of 5.41 million units, according to the National Association of Realtors. Sales were 8.6% lower than in May 2021, and April sales were revised slightly lower as well. This is the weakest reading since June 2020, which was during the early months of the pandemic, and adjusting for that, it's the lowest since January of 2020. I mean, anyone who thought this was going to last literally forever is just kind of delusional. There's no way for any market to just constantly go up forever. I know a lot of people were like, nah, man, stocks, crypto, real estate, it only goes up. But usually there's a bull market followed up by a long time of it getting pretty painful. And I think that's just a sign of like an economy in any circumstances. It goes through cycles. There's going to be times when your economy is performing better than it was or worse than it was. But I'm not surprised that we've passed the peak. It just had to happen at some point. I mean, it was getting to the point where houses were only on the market for like 2 days being bought 30% over asking for cash. That just can't last forever, and I think a lot of people don't realize how much all these markets are linked. Because, I mean, think about it. Sure, not everyone who's buying houses has a lot of money in stocks or crypto, but if your 401k just dropped in value by 30%, you're not going to be stoked to go out and purchase a house probably. If your job is going to be talking about layoffs because their sales are slowing down or whatever, you're not going to be going out and buying a house. Like, all of these things are interconnected. If you work for a giant corporation and their stock price is collapsing, they might have to do pay cuts or, let people go. These are all things that are going to adversely affect the real estate market, and I think people just kind of think of it in its own little bubble, like, nothing makes housing prices go down. And it kind of does need to go down. I think the upper end of the real estate market, like $1 million houses and whatnot, will be more stable just because those people have a crap ton of disposable income anyways. But the lower end of the housing spectrum has to drop in price because people not being able to afford a house ever is just not good for the society. Low supply continued to push prices higher, with the median price of a house sold in May of $407,600, an increase of 15% from May 2021, and it's the highest price on record since realtors began tracking it in the 1980s. Supply is leanest on the lower end of the market, which is likely why activity there continues to be weaker than on the higher end. Sales of homes priced between 100 and 250,000 dropped 27% from a year ago, while sales of homes priced between 750 and 1 million were up 26%, and sales of homes priced above a million surged 22% year over year. I mean, like I said, it's not surprising that the more expensive houses are still selling, because if you have $1 million to spend on a house, you've probably got a lot of disposable income. Even if the economy is doing worse, it's not like you magically don't have money if you have a crap ton of it. And as for why there's such a drastic drop in houses in between $100,000 and $250,000, it's real simple. They don't really exist anymore in many places. I mean, outside of a few states and rural areas, the average home price is well above $250,000. I feel like I live in Las Vegas. If I found any house for $250,000, I would be surprised. Certain markets are just on fire. Obviously, people want a $100,000 house, but due to inflation, they just don't really exist. And that definitely is impacting housing prices going up too. Inflation, if money starts to be worth less, then things just start to be worth more money to get that same amount of value out of it. I mean, it just makes sense. Like if dollars are worth less, right, then what was a $400,000 house would become a $500,000 house because money has lost 20% of its value. So that certainly isn't helping. Low supply isn't helping. It's been a wombo combo, but hopefully this and houses just staying on the market longer, sales slowing down, will force people to take a little bit less money. I mean, I just don't know how sustainable this can be forever. Even with the inflation, like prices on housing can't go up forever. And at some point you have to realize that it shouldn't just be rich people able to buy $1 million house that are able to buy a house. I don't know, like it's sad that owning a home has become a pipe dream to a lot of people. Like, yeah, maybe one day, but it's super unlikely. That's kind of the whole American dream, man. Homes are selling quickly, however. Houses stayed on the market an average of 16 days, the lowest on record, and all cash sales were elevated to 25% of all sales. Investors made up 16% of transactions, down slightly from April and from a year ago. First-time buyers made up just 27% of all transactions, down 31% from a year ago, and affordability is clearly hitting them the hardest as rents are rising as well. Higher short-term rates from the feds are helping to drive a much-needed housing reset and a real estate refresh, wrote Danielle Hale, chief economist at realtor.com. While the rebalancing is needed, it's upping the challenge of navigating the housing market for both sellers and buyers as expectations and conditions are adjusting rapidly. And Realtor.com recently updated its forecast for 2022 home sales, now projecting fewer this year than last year. So a lot of the data that we have for this year so far is when the economy was still doing well at the beginning of the year and the stock market was going up. I feel like it's going to have to drastically slow down now. If every other part of the economy slows down, it would make no sense if real estate just kept going at 100% speed. And even then, I just don't think it is sustainable. As they said, if rents are rising, people can save less money for the down payment for their house. So it's not like they're going to be running out to buy houses at the rate they were going. And I think eventually the investor class is going to be affected, because if every other investment class is doing horribly, they're not going to have all this excess cash. I feel like what's kind of happened over the last few years is A, rates are cheap so you can borrow a lot of money really cheaply. B, the stock market's going up, so a lot of these guys are flush with cash and are using the money from crypto or the stock market to diversify into real estate or vice versa. There's been a whole lot of people making a whole lot of money, and when people are making a whole lot of money, they want to invest it. And one of the best ways to invest it has been real estate. But if we start to see that it's not as guaranteed, then I think it'll definitely help the market slow down. As they were saying, a reset is pretty needed. Not to mention, the Federal Reserve raising rates is going to slow down investors as well. The reason there's been so many investors is basically this, okay? If I can buy a house and rent it out and make 8%, then I will borrow money at 2% all day long, because I'm still making 6%. Even if I'm paying 2% interest on this loan, I'm making 8% on rent. You can do that all day. You start to get near like what, 5-6% on the rates. All of a sudden, even if you're renting at 8%, you've only got 2%. That kind of changes the picture. You're not out buying houses like crazy. And I think it probably is best for the housing market to slow down a little bit, just so we can get people back on track to actually being able to afford a house one day. 20% of all homes being owned by investors just doesn't seem like the best move for the future of everybody. I'm not some financial expert though, I'm just a moron talking over gameplay. I just thought it was interesting, felt like making a video about it. If you enjoyed though, I'd really appreciate y'all taking a second to press the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comment section down below, and of course subscribe if you're new. I try to post 2 videos every single day on this channel, so if you like this type of content, be sure to subscribe and turn on those notifications. And yeah, on that note, That'll do it. Don't get anyone pregnant. If you do, make sure they're hot, and hopefully I will see each and every single one of you guys next time with another video. I'm out. Peace.